And welcome back one final time tonight as we look to close out week 2, day 1 here, the PCS Spring Split 2022. I'm still Pyrotechnics. He is still Clement, and we've got one more game to go. But before we get into it, I would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors, CTBC Bank and Caliber. Thank you for making the PCS possible. Now, Clement, on paper, this one definitely looks a little lopsided. It is Mega Bank Beyond Gaming taking on the side of Hurricane, formerly known as Alpha Esports.
Yeah, and this one could be a very, very fast one. You know, so far Hurricane Gaming, their average game time is 24 minutes. So very speedy games. We've seen very similar things to their old Alpha squad, where it does seem like mid-jungle is kind of desynced from the rest of the team. And Cha-Cha right now is, on average, losing 750 gold at 10 minutes. So that's really going to be the focus point, I feel like, is can Hurricane Gaming actually go through the early and middle phases of the game without just dropping massive amounts of gold on failed skirmishes from mid lane?
Yeah, if they can pull it back a little bit, right, we maybe start to see some glimmers of hope from this team. But for right now, there's not as much that we're really expecting of them unless they can build it back up. If there's a bright spot on this roster, I think it's Bang 2 in the AD carry position. He's definitely had some standout plays, some highlight-worthy moments, particularly on the likes of Ezreal. I like to see the team rally around him, especially in a meta where the bottom laner is so important especially compared to like last year where you didn't have a lot of agency at all. On the opposite side, Mega Bank Beyond Gaming, they're back with Liang in the starting roster tonight. They do have a bit of a rotating roster, but we will be seeing Liang once more, paired up with Husha, Minji, Wako, and Kino. And this is a squad that, you know, much like PSG, they did have to contend with losing some star power in the form of Doggo over to the LPL. However, they have slotted Wako in pretty well, I like to think. Looking at what they've done so far, this is the iteration of the roster I prefer. I didn't really like Lee Kai's Gwen. It was kind of meh. And they kind of got stomped on by MFT's triple dive composition.
Yeah, that was a game that was very difficult to forget there. And I think we do see the strong points of this team and sort of the weak points. And I just want to point out that the Minji webcam is wrong, so they're not twins. Those two guys are Husha. But
double Husha.
Yeah, Beyond Gaming, they are a team that I feel like can be a little bit lackadaisical when it comes to macro, and especially when they're running Lee Kai, who is the newer member on the team. Liang has been with them at Worlds. They can look a little bit disjointed. That's how Meta Falcon team was able to just pick them apart. Now, moving on to Hurricane Gaming, I actually feel like this roster, if they just have a stronger performance from mid-jungle, this team, in theory, I think could be definitely a playoff team, and they could go a lot higher. ICU has had some great performances in lane. If you look at his GD stats, he's actually, I believe, in the top 4 in the top lane right there. So he's actually doing good work there. Bang 2, we saw in his Ezreal, can definitely carry you in those late game team fights. But the question is, they just have kind of a gaping hole in their sort of early mid-game decision-making, especially around Cha-Cha. You know, it's not necessarily Cha-Cha himself being that bad of a laner, but it's just the decision-making around him seems very delayed and just completely out of sync. We saw so many fights where it was very clear that Aliel was backing out and the rest of the team was just leaving, and then Cha-Cha just walks in. So I don't really know what's happening right there. It could be just kind of like the packet loss issue that we've seen from Alpha Esports in the past. They do have players in mainland connecting over, so that could be an issue for them. But if that is solved, I really have high hopes for Hurricane Gaming. In the meantime, let's take a look at that bot lane. Definitely our two most hype players right here. I don't think the numbers are doing that much justice in terms of the KDA department, but in the DPM, you can really see Bang 2 pulling his weight here, coming over from an LSC bench to doing 454 damage in the PCS I think is quite a big feat in itself.
Yeah, and this is what we're talking about when we say that this is a player certainly to watch. Obviously, Wako, not quite as high in the DPM. And of course, the KDA, yeah, you don't want to look at when it's so weighted heavily towards wins versus losses. I think for the big thing for me with Bang 2 is I want to see him again more on like the standard picks. The one time he really went out of what we were expecting, the Twitch came out as like this Zeri counter pick that just didn't work. And there we go. Already not screwing around. Getting rid of the Zeri as a first pan. I like to see it. I want to see Hurricane Gaming learning from the mistakes they've made so far so good. Karma and Renekton both banned away. I feel like this is beyond just making a statement that they didn't want to see what happened last game.
Yeah, MFT pretty much ran at them with the Galio. and it was able to kind of catch him off guard. So, Beyond Gaming, sometimes when they fight fire with fire and they're less coordinated than their opponents, they can falter a little bit. But overall, I do see Beyond Gaming as a team that does play a very similar strategy to MFT, is that they do like the triple dive compositions, mainly because Minji is such a good assassin player. If you give him something like the Akali, and Zoe is going to be permaban against Minji, he can't really do work with those, as we saw with the Akali triple kill in week one.
Yeah, it was a really big threat, and I think it's something you have to keep in mind whenever you're playing against Minji. This isn't the same as we saw last summer when it was, Maoan in the mid lane, and we were looking more at like those Rise kind of plays. So there's definitely some deep threats here, and with the Akali left up, clearly there's enough of a prio for Beyond Gaming to give it straight into Minji's hands. Perfectly happy to handshake on the AD carry. There's the Jinx, there's the Aphelios. You can always take whatever one of the two you want on the next rotation. I think this might be the way things end up getting settled for a while, Clement, assuming the Zeri stays permanent.
Yeah, and we do have Jinx with a much higher win rate in the PCS. A lot of Aphelios have tried, but so far the win rate is not that promising, still hovering around 40%. So Hurricane Gaming going with the tried and true option here in the Jinx. And this is interesting from Olio. We saw much harder carry attempts compared to the Lee Sin, the Hecarim coming out, and the Echo coming out. But this time he's going for something a little bit more standard and something that packs a little bit more early game oomph. So I think Hurricane Gaming are trying to right their previous wrongs and at least give Cha-Cha a better chance at a 2v2 early game.
Yeah, I like this. Olio comes in like lane, like role swapping from the mid lane. He was the previous shout to, and like does all these like crazy, like out there kind of jungle picks. The carry style just doesn't work. I think the Lee Sin makes a lot more sense. It also, gives you a chance to escape from harm's way if bad things start coming your way. But of course, I do want to talk about the fact that Beyond Gaming, it looks like they are going for the Tryndamere pickup. So we've got some pretty crazy side lanes here on the BYG side. Meanwhile, Hurricane kind of keeping things a little close to the vest with just locking in the Leona. They have a couple of engaged champions there pairing up with the Lee Sin. And of course, pretty standard lane pickup for the bottom side. And that is the big thing, right? We've had so much strange stuff. It's now going back to more of the norm. But I wonder if ICU still sticks to his tried and true and goes for those side lane, those like big, heavy, like side pushing or poking champions, the likes of the Jace or the Jax that we've already seen from him. Might be tough against the Tryndamere.
The Jax is kind of the big one on everyone's minds, or another really good counter is probably something like the Trundle that just walks up and straight up kills the Tryndamere in a 1v1. So those are some things to look for, and I don't think you're going to see Aurelia necessarily, but Jax has been a pretty decent counter to the Tryndamere that has been going on. It looks like Beyond Gaming, though, are paying no attention to potential ICU champions, and especially focusing all of their bans on Cha-Cha. This is really interesting. Yeah, because Cha-Cha has kind of been the weak link so far, but they're paying the correct respects here and just making sure that they're not going to find good crowd control to chain up with Olio and make Akali's laning a complete living hell. So, I think this is the correct move. It's a rather safe move, I would say. I think the much bigger threat is ICU, but they're just making sure that Minji is not going to get cheesed in lane by a level 2 Lee Sin.
I suppose so. So giving Cha-Cha the Azir ends up being the option, as the pool had been drained just a little bit here. And we'll see how Beyond want to round out their composition as the timer ticks down. Should expect that Tryndamere up in the top, but we have seen some strange things. Last second switch up, and it looks like it will be a set support. We have seen this before from Kino specifically in the PSG game, and man, he made it look good.
Yeah, there's no way that a lot of these hyper carries can escape from set. He goes in unstoppable, it flashes in on you in Facebreaker, so Jinx is a prime target for that one. In the meantime, we also have a potential secondary carry in the Viego as well, so Beyond Gaming setting themselves up for a very unique composition. This is, it's kind of a 1-3-1, but a very aggressive, engaged core. So when the collapse does come in and you see the Akali and the Tryndamere coming in from the sides, it's actually the 3-man that's going to engage on you. So really throwing a twist on this one. I'm not sure if they can pull it off, because the problem with this setup is your 3-man can just get blown up instantly if you don't do the engage correctly. So we'll see if they have the coordination to pull this off. On the other hand, I feel like Hurricane Gaming, they are just playing for sort of a formation style where they're trying to deny with the explosive cask and with the Dragon's Rage to keep those targets back. They have so many different ways of displacement and just pushing Beyond Gaming back from their front line.
Yeah, and I think that really does put a lot of it on Bang too. As I said, like at the start of this, I think that's the correct strategy, because while ICU has definitely been a big damage dealing threat, at the same time, Bang 2 has definitely been the consistent player of all of them. And I think giving him a tool like Jinx, surrounding him with a core that can just shift everyone away from you, as long as they can protect him adequately, I think that does a great job. The question is, how well will they be able to pull that off, especially when there are so many champions that just want to dive on the AD carry's face. I feel like this game is going to really live or die by the bot lane.
Yeah, it does seem that way to me as well. We have seen generally these sets, they can go for very aggressive level 1s and level 2s. So those are the first things that we have to pay attention to. We have just seen flash trades by set level 1 with Facebreaker and just to force summoners out, and then make sure that when Viego comes down, it's almost an instant kill. So I think those are the first things that we have to pay attention to. But otherwise in the lanes, there shouldn't be that much going on. Gragas is a great neutralizer of the Tryndamere, and early on Akali doesn't really do anything. So as you mentioned, all eyes on the bottom lane, and a lot of it could just come down to level 1 or level 2 cheeses.
Yeah, and there's certainly some possibility for some cheese here. We have had an interesting night of games. Some fast ones, some slow ones. Only one exceptionally close one. I wonder if Hurricane Gaming can make it 2 for 2 as we take a look at our starting rune choices. Fair amount of Conquerors in this one.
Talking about where Conquerors are supposed to be, we have a Grasp in the top lane, which just tells me that, hey, we're going to get another Hull Breaker.
Yep.
He doesn't really care about chopping down backlines. He's just all focused on dealing with his own lane. And
you said 1-3-1. I mean, yeah, I think we're going to get that 1-3-1. It feels like it's a bit of an opportunistic 1-3-1, right? Like if they manage to get a collapse and a catch, but that should telegraph that the stated goal is probably to try and just knock down the towers. Here we go, that triple bead start for the Tryndamere as well. I believe that's going away next patch.
Yeah, I can't believe Jujubee is making a goodbye. We were going to miss this item. Like, I used to love this item when I was playing Gameplank, the old Gameplank, and you just kind of traded with it. You never lost lane in the mirror matchup. Those were the good old days about a decade ago. But, back into this game here, I do want to pay a lot more attention to the level 1s here. And it is going to be a lot about wave pushing, as we do see, the execution already being used here on the front line just to make sure that they can get that level 2 a little bit earlier. Still going to lose the push to Jinx, but we do have to mention the jungle pathing. Both junglers are heading towards the bot side, so we could have some very explosive stuff happening, and we're going to have to track these wards quite well.
Absolutely. Another crucial thing is, this is a little bit later on in the game, but obviously ICU is going to have a teleport when Liang won't. So that's something to keep an eye on once we get to that point. Once we get to the Unleashed teleports. I mean, if there's a dive, you never know, yeah. I'm setting up the expectations early, Clement, but at the same time, you're right. The action should definitely hinge on those two junglers making it to the bottom. Both of them can get involved early. On paper, I'd certainly favor the Lee Sin, but, in terms of nameplates, I'd certainly favor Husha.
Yeah, if you're thinking about the CC chain, it could be very deadly. And just looking at the summoners here, you don't have that cleanse from Bang 2, so definitely could be a possibility for Husha to find an advantage here. But I do have to give credit to Chacha. With that shove he had, he placed a ward on the Raptor camp, so they have a very good track of Viego, which gives a massive advantage over to Hurricanes Gaming if there will be a 3v3.
Yeah, little edges start to turn into bigger things here, and you can see Olio coming in here to double up, but both of the duos head up to put the ward down, and Oleo's going to wait for the opportunity, trying to bait out Waka. Ooh, the Zenith Blade's just an inch too short. It doesn't mean they won't go for it, but I feel like this telegraphs quite a lot.
Yeah, that would have been an instant flash if that landed onto Wako. Unfortunately, isn't able to get that one. And this does sort of dissipate here. We do expect Hurricane Gaming to have a lot of advantages. I really want to see Olio and Cha-Cha just make their mark known on the jungle here. They should be going for a double scuttle start. Very, this is probably the best start that we have seen Cha-Cha, even though it's quite early on, but watching these combinations is we might see a lot more side lane potential unlocked if the early game is at least going even.
Yeah, and so far so good. I mean, Beyond Gaming do have a little bit of a gold lead, but not overly significant right now. It's pretty much all in Liang's hands. He steps a little far forward, and Olio kind of punishes him a little bit. Not enough to take him down. No execution available. But I don't think he was expecting that, going around the brush for the ward.
Yeah, they didn't have a good grasp on where Husha was, I believe, in that trade, so they played it rather slowly. Most instances, I feel like the Lee Sin could actually deal a lot more damage to Liang and just kind of force him out completely.
I think he backed out.
Playing respectful.
A little afraid.
Yeah.
So things staying slow, I mean, and this should be okay for Hurricane. Now, they are getting pushed in a little bit more on the bottom side. If you wanted to see a repeat gank, that's one thing. But of course, they already know where Olio is. This is a safe push right now for Wako and Kino. And look at this, Kino Hex flashing over. I thought he might be setting up for something crazy. No, he's just going to go ahead and get vision. Make sure he gets the wards down. Olio's sticking to the top side right now. There is a small window. Liang does not have his ultimate yet.
Yeah, we do have Husha coming up, though, but it might not be enough.
Ghost is on. He does connect Sonic Wave. Should have the execution. Damage follows, flashes, and here comes the turn. Husha is there. And that's just going to be enough to dissuade them for now. Without ultimates on any side, that might be enough to stop the fight.
Yep, sums for sums, and in the bot lane, this is a very common trade that we talked about. Basically, Kino, whenever he gets a chance, is going to flash on Bane 2 to make sure that he can trade flash for flash. And with the Hex Flash, he's not really losing that much while also making this lane a lot more gankable. Just kind of ordinary set stuff that we see all the time. Here we go.
Ooh, nice root on and into the face breaker as well. Bang 2 getting hugely punished. Oh, and just enough to stay alive on top of his heal. Oh boy. Talk about a close call.
Yeah, it was, honestly, Wako had a good chance of just finishing off that kill. Holds on to his summoners and just decides to punish by getting these turret plating. I would have expected that to be just a straight up kill, however. I think NL was able to crowd control Wako. And this is kind of the Wako special, overstaying in lane.
And flashing. Yep, he pays for it. He pays the tax.
I'm saying this is a Wako special because we've seen him do this a lot of times. Wako is definitely one of those players that is hyper-focused on what's ahead of him, and he has that sort of reputation as kind of this loose cannon that will sometimes just pull multiple kills out of thin air, but other times will just kind of lose very unnecessary summoners.
Yeah, you know what's funny is he was so good, and still is so good, that I don't think he ever got the negative reputation on it, but Doggo, I feel like, did the same thing.
Oh yeah, Doggo in the LPL, I felt like had a rude awakening.
A little bit, but he's not the first player from the PCS to have that happen.
Oh, he's doing really well now, and he's actually been able to edge out even Uzi from starter rotation a couple of times. So I think like once you get to LPL and you kind of learn, and like, okay, some of these things I did in the PCS, they're not gonna fly. Then they instantly become better. It's always interesting to see how players kind of develop in the LPL. A lot of them do very well, and a lot of them actually ascend when their competition gets much stiffer.
That's one way to improve for sure. But taking it back to this game right now, Beyond definitely trying to open up a bit more opportunities for themselves. They will go ahead and take out the Infernal Dragon. Still really not a whole lot in the way of gold leads, as we don't have a first blood in this one, and not for lack of trying down there in the bot side. Very, very close at Bang 2. Of course, with the teleport, or rather the flash timers, I should say, are going to still be a little while on both sides. It's also been a very quiet game in the mid lane. Minji obviously not been able to open up onto Cha-Cha just yet, who's playing, I would say, the best game he's had so far in the PCS.
I'm just kind of surprised that Minji even has a CS lead.
Yeah, well, there's
not really
that too.
supposed to happen. Yeah, but that's still the same thing. Cha-Cha's not behind 750 gold, which is an improvement. So
Yeah, it
I guess you
is
can't ask for
it's a
too much.
step up, and you take
It's
those.
a pretty big step up.
Well,
So
man, Kino
okay
loves doing
with
that
this
Hex
one.
Flash play.
Still looking for it, and it's going to be so dangerous for Hurricane Gaming to ever push up after this wave. You can see that they're just straight freezing, which actually gives a lot of room for Kino to put pressure on the elsewhere onto the map. And you see Husha starting the Herald, Kino already roaming up. Very beautiful play coming here. It's just standard stuff, but transitioning that pressure from bot to top. And I don't really see a way that Hurricane Gaming can contest this. Azir has a very difficult time moving out of the lane, especially against champions like Set and Akali. So they just have to give this one up.
Yeah, not a lot you can do here, and this is just, they have the prio. Yeah, sure, Olio's able to send a Sonic Wave out onto Minji, but you can't really follow through. You need the damage. Again, it does feel like the operation really should be to try and feed as much and funnel as much as you can into Bang 2, but Olio had like kind of 1 or 2 token attempts down there, and we haven't really seen much of him since.
Yeah, and then part of it has been because the summoner disadvantage did happen with Kino getting basically just burning the flash every time Bangtu is down there. So this puts some hesitation and kind of fear of the counter gank if it does happen there. So I think we are going to have a relatively slow game. Both of these teams are very happy of just scaling onwards. Hurricane Gaming has one of the best team fighting comps that you could possibly draft. They're very happy for it to go to 40 minutes. And Beyond Gaming have one of the best 1-3-1 comps. So I don't think it's going to be about scaling this game. It's much more about picking their spots. And you're going to see if Beyond Gaming can't take too many turrets down early, then Hurricane Gaming are going to have that great chance to kind of use the Baron as bait and force a big 5v5 to their advantage. But on the flip side, if Beyond Gaming can strip away a lot of these side lane towers, then they can just deny the chance for Hurricane Gaming to ever group up. I think that's kind of the long-term dynamics that we're going to see from this match.
You're right. Here we go. Here's the play. Wako, no flash.
Wako.
Oh! They will land on the secondary attempt and the kickback. That should be the cleanup for First Blood. They expended a lot for it, but they got there in the end. Easiest kick setup I think Olio could have.
Yeah, not a lot that Wako could do right there. His jungler, again, his support was very far away from the play. You could kind of say that Wako could have played that a lot safer, especially when he knows that his team is up on the Herald. Liang, just getting outplayed by ICU a bit. Wow. This could be a kill.
Oh my goodness! Ooh, good flash. Yeah, Liang says you haven't got me just yet. That was pretty brilliant. I mean, ICU is like, all right, this is free, but Tryndamere doesn't die when you want him to. He dies when he's done.
Yeah. And this is what I was talking about with Hurricane Gaming, is that their side lane players are actually really, really good. ICU on this team being able to have a positive gold lead is just, it's kind of mind-baffling to me, like, especially if you're mid-jungle or losing that hard. You know, in the bot lane, I honestly feel like this is just kind of Wako walking a little bit too far forward.
Yeah.
Could have played it a lot safer, but Wako doing Wako things.
Yeah, sometimes he just gives it over. Now, critically for him, or critically for Hurricane, that kill went on to N-House, so Bang 2 only gets assist on that one, not what he would have preferred, I think, and even Olio probably would have preferred to pick that one up. So I guess there's a bit of a saving grace there. He did burn Cleanse, by the way, even though he had like really no chance of getting it out. Like that was a good use of the teleport, or rather the flash timing on Hurricane's side, but it only was possible because, yeah, Wako did Wako things.
Yeah, this is interesting from Beyond Gaming because I feel like a lot of their game plans in the previous season.
Oh, okay.
Trade?
All right. Well, they got one to start. Couldn't get any more than that. N-House going down, and Husha getting the kill. I think this is going to be Bang 2 taking out number 2. Minji claiming that one on the dive. Nicely played overall.
Yeah, just such a beautiful trade by Set, and this is why Kino Set is one of the best. He really thinks 2 steps ahead about how the trade is going to go. Trades his flash for flash onto Bang 2, and then brings back Enhao for the kill. Absolutely beautiful stuff that he's doing right here. Even uses Enhao's positioning to find a stun on himself. So, very fun stuff we can see here. And another point here is Minji, he always finds those roam timings. He's been pushed in this entire game, but somehow it just doesn't matter. He's able to slip here, find the tower, and in the meantime, I think he only loses 2 plates overall throughout this entire laning phase. Totally acceptable for Akali standards.
Absolutely worth, for sure. Minji has definitely been finding a lot of success when he gets a chance to play these champions. Akali in particular has been good for him so far this split. So back to resetting everything. State of the game at the moment, we do have Beyond kind of really opening up an opportunity with that bottom lane down, as, of course, they had already secured Shelly earlier on in this one. Another Dragon's going to be live on the Rift. They're not really going for the fast play on this one, but they can take it whenever the heck they want. It's going to be a Hex Tech, so should be able to secure that one without a whole lot of trouble. And now they have Minji on the side lane. They'll group back into the middle, do the 1-3-1 shuffle. And Hurricane, not as far behind as they have been in other games, but they're still not looking great right now, especially when their primary damage dealer still trying to wait on building that mythic item.
Yeah, and this is really the hard part against a 1-3-1 comp is who's actually going to size up against Akali. I don't think they have anyone that can really do that job right now, so they have to stay back and kind of wait for the wave to come towards them. Leon just getting a bit of a love tap on Lee Sin, escorts him out, secures the blue for themselves, but Hurricane Gaming right now, they have a huge problem is that they essentially have to deal with an extra Akali when they are defending that mid. So things are going to get rather dicey for them, especially when Bangtu doesn't have his summoners. They're going to have at least, I think they need Lee Sin almost 24/7 around that mid lane just to prevent any dives from happening.
Yeah, I think Oleo's job here is probably going to be babysit for sure. As we get closer to that 15-minute mark, I think we see another dive of brewing. Although, Kino's just having a little bit of fun with it. He meant to do that, of course. It's Herald time.
That's a really thick wall, so...
It is. It's hard to Hex Flash over.
I understand it.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, definitely picked the hardest part of the wall to try and do that. Hurricane Gaming, they do have a chance to go in on this one.
Gonna pull Shelly out.
Both TPs are up.
Okay, gonna go for the steal, and I think he got it! No, he didn't!
No, he didn't.
Oh, boy. Okay, well, the fight's gonna turn here on this one. Look at all the damage that they're bringing. The double kill coming in now for Usha, and he is on the run. Bang 2, just trying and trying to get some damage done, but he just can't do it. His front line collapsed around him. ICU couldn't even get involved in that fight.
Yeah, I think for Hurricane Gaming, if you don't have prior positioning, it's very hard to actually contest these objectives. You're running forward with the Nazir and the Jinx. Not exactly what you want to do in that team fight, unfortunately. We saw Olio go in, didn't have any escapes afterwards, takes a bunch of damage, forced out of the fight early. And then on the bottom side, it was Cha-Cha doing I think his engage was a little bit weird because I think the correct way to play this is for Hurricane Gaming to actually secure the ramp with the Emperor's Divide and try to make sure you have an escape route. As we see, Alia goes in, has a very hard time coming out. Cha-Cha, again, I think the teleport positioning was a little bit weird. We did see this in the prior games as well, but I would have much preferred if he teleported somewhere a little bit safer and somewhere where he could actually cover the team's retreat. Instead, kind of, again, baits the team to stay in a position where they don't really want to be.
Yeah, okay. Well, Olio can at least steal the red buff, but a little bit of a tough situation. They really tried to force something when I think they probably were okay giving that over. I mean, sure, it's Herald. That's an important objective, but trying to take a fight on your terms feels just so much more important in those situations, and considering they couldn't really bring everybody to the party, like I said, ICU couldn't really get involved. It's a tough spot to be in, so unfortunately Hurricane find themselves down a little bit more. Gold, crucially, on a couple of these carries. ICU can't really back at the moment because he doesn't want to give up any more tower damage. Does send the big barrel flying, so he actually really wants to take it to Liang, but now he's out of mana. Not a whole lot he can do, and Husha's coming to take him down.
Yep, and there is Undying Rage, so Leon can just tank this until they find the kill. Oh, dodges
good
everything.
juke.
ICU, well played.
Man, he moves fast for a big guy.
Tremendous flash right there, getting away from the Sovereign's Domain as well as the stun here, but this TP might be a little bit risky.
No more Viego, or excuse me, no more Tryndamere ultimates, so I think they see they might have an opportunity to get the kill. Olio and ICU clearly sniffing for it, but dodges. Hits him with the emote. That's going to be all there is to it.
Well, just wants that tower so badly. If you ever wonder why Tryndamere is an S tier pick right now, that's pretty much why. You see the extra stats given by Hellbreaker, and he just sits underneath your tower whacking it away. So
yeah, it's like Jax, except he really won't die.
yeah, it's fun times.
Mm-hmm. Except for the person playing against the Trinity Bear. Anyways, hey, they got a tower down bottom, Clement. Look at that. It's a fun disc.
Yeah, so I guess that's an answer to 131 at the very least. We are going to get an Ocean Drake.
There we go, Bang 2.
Bang 2 struggling with the red.
You know,
Ocean
I hate when
Drake's
that happens, when it just resets. And you're like, no. Anyways. Ooh. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, they're just going to clear this up. But you're right, Ocean is coming up in a few seconds. And I feel like Hurricane want to fight for this one, but they are in a bit of a deficit. And they need to clear that ramp before they do it. Instead, they're going to opt to move towards the mid. But ICU is isolated.
Yeah, 5v5 Hurricane Gaming are actually a lot stronger than Beyond Gaming at this point. They just need to make sure that Kino can't find a great engage. I think Kino is the great equalizer here. If he slams ICU onto Bang 2, that's Bang 2 in the ICU, basically. So, Kino is going in.
There we go. Did get one. Empress Fight is going to come in here. Cha-Cha is going to try and get out of harm's way. Meanwhile, Bang 2 staying safe. They actually look to manage to turn it. Here comes Minji to the back line. And Liang and Minji double timing it. As Liang takes down Cha-Cha, they just won't die. And Kino, with Wako's help, will be able to finish off Olio. There we go. They lose Husha, but they get everyone on the Hurricane side.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful engage from Beyond Gaming. They come in from 3 different angles. Tryndamere taking one route, Kino another, and then Akali to make sure the sandwich is complete. And I felt like Cha-Cha actually had a really good Emperor's Divide, hitting 3 people, even taking, I believe, Minji from the backline into the front. But that still wasn't enough. There was enough gap close on Beyond Gaming to make this still work. So we'll watch this again. Pay close attention to where Minji and Tryndamere are coming in. This is a triple threat coming in. So even with a great Emperor's Divide, they aren't able to fully disengage. And I think the most important one is Bang 2 actually not taking the ramp right there, as Liang is up there with Undying Rage. It's so funny as you watch that angry Nan stay alive for 7 seconds, and there's absolutely
I don't blame him for not running into a Tryndamere, but on the other, yeah.
He had nowhere to go.
Exactly. You have a choice between bad and potentially more bad. So they did get 1 kill. I guess that's the saving grace there. But yeah, they lose out on the dragon. They lose out on the fight. Beyond just keep on picking them apart. And man, like, you could not get a better Emperor's Divide than that. And it still did not push them off.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy what Liang is able to do coming in from the Drake pick angle right there. And with the Ghost in that last team fight, he was able to stick the backline target so well. I think if you're Hurricane Gaming, you really need to space out your ultimates here. It can't just be Emperor's Divide and Explosive Cask at the same time. You have to actually coordinate which one to use and which one to save to make sure that Bang 2 actually has someone tanking against him. And this is one of the reasons I feel like counter engage is so much harder to play than engage. On engage, you just try to catch someone, you throw everyone on that person, you make sure kill secured, and you move on to the next target, already having a numbers advantage. But in counter engage, it almost comes down to like non-verbal communication between your members, and that is much harder to nail down.
Yeah, as we've already discussed too, that the old Alpha Esports and now Hurricane, that's always been a little bit of a sticking point, trying to find not just the verbal and nonverbal communication, but also just the execution on the same point. Kino, I swear he's doing this on purpose.
I'm not sure, because that was actually a pretty good opportunity, especially with Minji coming on the side. I felt like they could have made something out of that.
All right, well, two times is a coincidence. If he does it 3, I'm calling it. This is a conspiracy here, Clement. This is the Hex Flash conspiracy.
Yeah, I think with Minji flashing the emote, that was definitely kind of an oopsies.
Yeah, that's okay. Kino has had some really good games this split. And I really love seeing the set support, because it just opens up like so many fun opportunities in these team fights. Obviously against PSG, he kind of had opportunities spoon-fed to him. This time he's definitely been on the hunt a lot more, and it's been good to see. I mean, 80% kill participation, certainly nothing to sneeze at, especially in a 1-3-1 comp.
I think Set is absolutely great in this meta, where most of the picks are Jinx and Jinx and Aphelios. Like, how many games have we seen just today where it's basically these 2 AD carries, Zeri being banned out?
Oh, hey, look, ADCs with no escape. Let's go.
Exactly. And that's why I feel like another big missing piece that we haven't seen in the PCS so much has been the Jarvan pick. Jarvan pick is huge in LPL and LCK just because of that Cataclysm also forcing instant flashes away from these AD carries. Like, you can't even get out of it with Gal Force because it counts as terrain. So
I think we've seen it once, right? Didn't Meta Falcon play it for the game against Beyond?
Oh, I think maybe
that might have been the only one, but you're right though. Like, it hasn't been high prio comparatively, and that was like the crazy, like, superhero landing, like everybody get in the pit, kind of Thunderdome comp. And anyways, back to this one. Here we go. They will manage to bring somebody with them, but Kino just walks away from everything as he suplexes, and all the damage comes out. Oh boy. Absolutely nothing Cha-Cha can do as he gets hit with the Teemo. Triple kill for Waco's Aphelios. Meanwhile, Liang is going to take down ICU, and that is the clean ace.
I'm just not sure what kicking back the set would have actually accomplished.
It got him close enough to use the showstopper.
Okay, I mean...
Yeah, it accomplished something, just not something good for Hurricane.
Yeah, that was so baffling. I completely did not expect that engage coming from Hurricane Esports, Hurricane Gaming, sorry. At that time, it was just... Why? I just don't know.
Oh, that
really
Jinx rocket is way too late. Yeah, let's see this again. We've seen Olio hunting for a play multiple times in this mid lane now, but yeah, why Kino? Sure, you get him. Waco's right there. Oh, I see. He tries to dash, and then Kino's like, no, you're coming with me.
Yeah, there's no way that was going to work right in front of Set. Like, that was so opportunistic. I just can't believe how crazy that is. However, Hurricane Gaming might be getting something back here.
They might back into the live game right now. We do get a big shutdown. That's massive gold landing into Bang2's pocket, but will this continue? Waco, he's off in space right now, and he's not even needed. Minji getting the double. Hurricane, maybe he is actually, never mind. And here comes Waco, a little bit late to the party, but they are going to be able to clean house on this one. The Fed of Philios coming in for the twofer as he flashes forward. It looks like it's ICU going to be the only one to tell the tale of what the heck happened in that jungle.
Yeah, pretty crazy fight for Beyond Gaming because they were fighting that 3v5 for the majority of the time. Hurricane Gaming picked Liang right at the start, and then we had Waco just walking cross-map to join. So, very surprising at the results right there, but, looking at the gold again, it's probably not as surprising because they are 10,000 gold ahead. So we had a lot of Zanyas being popped right there and a lot of delay time. We're going to be watching that again, but Leon gets picked off. This is basically a 5v1 situation.
He opted into this.
I think he was just trying to get the crawl.
Leon chose
he wasn't thinking about any of the rest of that.
No, not at all. He's like, I'm Tryndamere. Oh, wait, it's 5v1. And he still lasts forever, by the way.
That's pretty funny from now. Minji does get a good kill, does fall down. I felt like ICU played this fight so damn well. Like the explosive cast, knockback, the timing on the stasis. That was so well done from ICU. But unfortunately, his team's just way too far behind at this point.
I'm gonna say that was all calculated. I think Liang knew he would live long enough for everybody to get there and avenge his death.
I'm not so sure, but it ended up working, so...
Yeah, it's such a massive lead right now, and Hurricane, I love that they're trying to fight. Obviously, they didn't choose that one. I love that they were trying to fight with a numbers advantage that they just are not going to be getting very often because of how much Beyond we're splitting. It gave them that weird opening. It just wasn't enough time, wasn't enough damage to finish the job, and it is just unfortunate to see that some of these fights have just been kind of chosen a little bit poorly at times. The targets, that one was forced upon them, and they almost took it.
Yeah, I feel like Hurricane Gaming, we haven't seen that fight where, they're setting up in a strong ramp or some sort of a funnel where Cha-Cha can really just use his Emperor's Divide and keep that backline safe. Every fight we've seen here, Bang2 has been somehow finding himself in the front line whether he wants it or not. So it's just a very hard meta to play. I love Beyond Gaming just answering what has been like the priority picks in the bottom lane. They seem to have a perfect answer to the meta and just kind of are a force that's shaping the way that the rest of the teams have to play now.
Yeah, well, Beyond Gaming definitely put their stamp on this league when they entered a year ago, and no longer the new hot kids on the block. They're kind of potentially heirs apparent. I mean, I think there's a lot of teams that are going to be making that claim. PSG, of course, would still like to reclaim the title themselves, but Beyond have been the team that's been the closest the last year. And, of course, now we've got some newcomers, CFO, to contend with as well. I think, J-Team made a strong statement for themselves. It's going to be interesting to see how the power dynamics shake out. But as far as this game's concerned, I think the dynamics are pretty heavily tilted in favor of Beyond Gaming. Hurricane going to try to do something here. But unfortunately, as you can see in the picture-in-picture, Liang is having a very enjoyable game of League of Legends. ICU is not.
Liang just 1v2'd. He beat back ICU to his own fountain, and then he beat back Alio.
He's just taking the Nexus turrets on his own.
ICU is still waiting for the perfect teleport.
This guy's playing like he's got like a mission or something.
There he is. He's playing for the win. I like that from ICU. Let's go.
Holy moly. There we go. Into the teleport play. Do they have enough to take down Wako? They do! And that's the moral victory right there. A 5v4. The Nexus might be bare, but at least they took down the AD carry. And Liang is not satisfied with the Nexus. He wants the kills, but he's going to have to settle at the end of the day. A nice Shurima shuffle, but the Nexus will fall. It looked a lot closer than it was going to be in the end. 29-22, and it's a Beyond Gaming victory.
I don't know. That ICU play, I think it was such a statement. It's like, sure, you might be able to win this game, but I will find my engage, whatever the cost. Like, he waited in his fountain so long that his jungler was beaten within an inch of his life. He lost his inhibitor, and then he lost his Nexus tower. But he still wanted to make the engage. And he made them pay, okay? So,
look, Clement, I just gotta say, if you're gonna name yourself Aurelia Carryu, you better have an eye for the highlight reel, all right? And I think ICU certainly does. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to win Hurricane a game, but for Beyond Gaming, they are certainly happy with the bounce back after the loss against Meta Falcon team, surprising them last week as they now ascend to 2-1 on the record. I do think this is a squad that is going to be one to watch. Nobody was doubting that coming into this split. It was always going to be, hey, how are Minji and Wako going to slot into this composition? And now we have our answer pretty darn well, especially when they get the champions they want.
Yeah, it's been so fun to watch Minji, and I think he slotted in the sense that Beyond Gaming were sort of that 1-3-1 composition, and they were always known for their ability to engage in multiple angles. I think Minji does still fit into that role very, very well there. Just can't get over the end of that game. You could see Liang just being completely flabbergasted. He was like, I can't believe the lengths people will go, the depravity people will go to just kill an AD carry. They literally just gave up their entire base just to dump on Wako. What is happening?
Got to keep his KDA down somehow, right? I mean, yeah, I think Hurricane, the composition they brought out here, they tried to go a little bit more standard, and I do appreciate that. I think as a result, we probably saw one of their better performances. A couple of fights that were still very much against them because of how far behind they fell on the gold game could have very easily tilted if just a little bit more damage had come through at the right time. We had some incredible plays from Chacha. I think there were great Emperor's Divides. Really good barrels coming out from ICU. Maybe they could just work on layering it a bit better, but on the individual level, you see the skill that is there. You see the fact that this team has powerful players that know what they're doing on these champions. That's not in question. It's just a matter of getting all the pieces to work together. And I think against lesser teams, they will have a chance to show that.
Yeah, I think the worrisome points about this team are still very evident. Like, I think Chacha's playing with some sort of lag. Like, I'm serious about that. I would be very surprised if he has perfect connection or something, because we have some like very weird teleports. Like the first teleport on Herald was not a great one, and honestly, his suppression of Akali wasn't really enough. I feel like Minji was able to roam when he wanted to, and he was even in the lead in CS, which is I don't know how that happens, but it did. So
yeah,
I think Hurricane Gaming, once again, I just feel like if they can somehow just bring all of the team members to the same location and have them playing without ping and without all these hurdles, then we could really see a team that is a powerhouse. ICU this game was actually really doing great. Like, the number of times he was able to outplay the top lane despite not having any sort of help was actually very impressive. Like, he got
that's how you play
double
Gragas.
sums out of Liang. Yeah, Gragas was dancing around doing stuff. He killed Wako in the very end at the cost of his entire base. But hey,
he almost got a solo kill onto Liang. I mean, that's yeah, he did exactly what he needed to, and I think that's why we keep hyping this guy up. He's good. He's really. I mean, yeah, it was touch and go there in the top for a little while, but unfortunately, yeah, just not enough elsewhere. I think Bang 2 did a decent job as well, but as you mentioned, he kind of ended up finding himself in the front line one too many times. Minji will earn the MVP on our final game tonight. He played one heck of an Akali game. He certainly wasn't the only one opening up a lot in this one, but he certainly delivered where it counted. I think it was a big team effort overall, but I definitely like what this mid laner is bringing, coming over from Berjaya Dragon's last split and slotting in very nicely into the Megabank Beyond Gaming lineup.
Yeah, the big question for Minji is, will he be able to stand up to the more traditional mages like Mission, who love to run very lane bully style of champions like the Syndra, like the Orianna? I think that's going to be the real test for him further down the line. But so far, against mid laners that don't really pressure him that much, he's going to shine like a very bright star. And we have seen just permabans going his way. The Zoe is not going to get released anytime soon, and I think very soon Akali is going to be joining that list.
I think you might be onto something there, Clement. Minji definitely making his mark and demanding his share of the ban column as well as teams look to try to adapt to this 1-3-1 Titanic monster. But let's go take a look back at today's results. We had 6 games. Sem9 finally got to make an appearance. Unfortunately, such a tough pair of games to go through. CTBC Flying Oyster and then PSG Talon. They weren't able to walk away with a win. After that, we had a very close game, somewhat unexpectedly perhaps, with Impunity versus CFO. And then you know the rest of it. As we take a look at our standings, right now, the top of the table, some interesting squads in the rotation there. CFO, Deep Cross, those are the new kids on the block, although they have some old and familiar faces. And then right after that, PSG, J-Team, Megabank right afterwards. And then, well, you know the rest.
Yeah, and I do think that we have kind of a top 5 situation here going all the way to BYG, and then you have kind of the in-the-middle teams with Meta Falcon Team and Frank Esports, and frankly I do think Impunity is going to join that rank, and then you have the 2 teams that will, in my opinion, struggle to make it into playoffs with Hurricane Gaming and Sem9 rounding out the bottom of the standings right here. So I think we are going to get a very standard layering as the season moves on, and I don't expect a lot of big shifts. I would love to be proven wrong, but that is, in my opinion, what we're going to see. For tomorrow's games, I think we have a lot more closer games as we see more dukes out in the top 5. CFO versus J-Team, Beyond Gaming versus DCG, excuse me. Those are those games where, you know, we are going to see the teams from the top half of the standings really clash together.
Yeah, not only that, I think Impunity versus Meta Falcon Team is going to be really interesting because we saw so much to like in Impunity despite their loss today. And I think for Meta Falcon, they found that there are a little bit of limits to what they could accomplish so far against some of the teams with just as much synergy, just as much ability to get things done as them. So I think there's a lot of really good games on the docket for tomorrow. Super excited to see how all of those shake out. And yeah, I think that's going to be it. We've had one heck of a day here to kick our week 2 off as we've played all our 6 games. And I guess that's about all we got left. Anything else you're looking forward to, Clement, for the rest of this one? I know all those games look super exciting, but anyone particularly stand out?
I wonder when we're going to get our first Corki game. I'm just saying, but Corki is still 60% presence in the major regions. We have not seen a Corki game so far in the PCS.
We have so many assassin players in this league, and then the control mages. I mean, they're fine, right?
Yeah,
they don't need it, but we'll find out. We'll find out is all I got to say. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.